So I was thinking about how these, what we call half-ton trucks, like the F-150, for example, how you can configure those trucks these days to tow some really big amounts of weight. So I started looking through the towing guide on, say, a 21 F-150, and I noticed something very interesting. Yes, you can configure the F-150 to tow up to 14,000 pounds, which is really, really close to the tow rating on my F-250 diesel. Only 1,000 pounds away, in fact. But if you look at the towing guide, it tells you that in order to get there, you have to use weight distribution. It's not an option. If you don't use a weight distributing hitch, you're limited to only 5,000 pounds. And check out that maximum frontal area. Only 60 square feet of maximum frontal area. Now, if you look at the F-250 towing guide from my truck, you see that the maximum weight on a truck configured like mine is 14,700 pounds, and it doesn't matter if you use weight distribution or not. The weight distributing and the load carrying are both listed at the same amount of weight, 14,700. So if you're not planning on using a weight distributing hitch, then the Super Duty trucks can tow a substantially larger amount of weight. And obviously that just has to do with how they are built, how the hitch is mounted, the type of hitch used, and all of that kind of, there's a lot that goes into this. But bottom line is the F-150 is really capable, but only in certain situations. Something I noticed that was interesting, though, you still have that 60 square foot maximum frontal area requirement even on the Super Duty trucks. Interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. So if you think about, like, for example, that enclosed trailer that I use as a camper and toy hauler and equipment hauler, and, I basically use that enclosed trailer for everything. It's 8.5 feet wide and it's 7 feet tall. So that trailer completely maxes out that frontal area requirement, even on the Super Duty trucks. Now, I think that's really interesting. I remember back when I had that Jeep Gladiator, so that's a mid-size truck, right? It had a maximum frontal area requirement of 56 square feet. So you're telling me that a Super Duty 3/4 ton diesel or an F-350 1-ton diesel truck has a 60 square foot maximum frontal area requirement on the trailer that it pulls, and mid-size trucks are pretty much right there too. I bet you that's something you didn't know. So if you were going to pull a huge camper, you would have to go fifth wheel, and if you saw that slide I just showed you, that only gets you up to 75 square foot, I think it was, maximum frontal area. So you got to do the fifth wheel setup if you're going to tow a big camper. If you want to keep it by the book and do it the right way anyhow. And I just think that's really interesting because a lot of people probably pay no attention to that when they're selecting a truck and a camper to put together to go have fun with. So that was pretty interesting. And then, like I said, the other interesting thing was the F-150. There's a substantial difference in how much weight you can tow depending on whether or not you have that weight distribution hitch. It makes all the difference in the world on the half-ton F-150 trucks. So a lot of guys probably don't pay any attention to that either. They're going through there and they say, wow, check this out. You can configure the F-150 to tow 13,000 pounds. That's all I need. My camper's 10,000 pounds, so that'll work just fine. Or equipment trailer, which is probably an even better example because most people don't use weight distribution hitches on equipment trailers and car hauler trailers and things like that. So, this is the kind of stuff that you got to pay attention to. I've done a lot of videos over the years discussing towing because a lot of people just don't look at the fine print. All they care about is that maximum trailer capacity number. That's all they pay attention to. And they don't ever look at the things like the frontal area of the trailer that you can pull, or what kind of requirements are put in there, as far as equipment you have to have on your truck to achieve those numbers. So anyhow, quick little tidbit. If you're going to pick a truck and some kind of trailer to put together, if you're planning go ahead and do your homework. Download the towing guide from the manufacturer. Read the fine print, because you'll probably be surprised at what you find in there. So with all that being said, you know, it's easy to think on paper that, hey, this truck right here was rated 14.7, and the F-150s can be configured to 14. So the towing capacity is really not that much different between the 150 and the 250 like this, but that's sort of misleading. In all actuality, the towing capacity is substantially different, really. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below.